If everybody can, all right, if everybody can go ahead and turn on their cameras for me. Welcome back from lunch. Hope everybody's doing well. I'd like to thank you, Emma. Thank you, Umar. Thank you, Nafisa. Thank you, Rashid. Thank you, Abdul Salam. No. Good. All right. So two things are gonna happen. So welcome back from lunch, guys. Hope everybody enjoyed yourself. Hope you enjoyed your lunch. So we're actually gonna start a new conversation. We may have time to kind of finish up our other conversation, but I definitely want to make sure that we get to our next conversation in terms of HBCUs versus PWIs. It's gonna be a quick presentation on it. I'm gonna share from my screen. And then we're gonna have a couple of guests here to answer questions or to kind of, let me see if they're both here. Somebody keeps dropping out. Give me 1 second to check in on our second guest. Make sure that they're ready to roll. All right. All right, so we're gonna go get started, and when we get to their portion of the slide, I'll have them introduce themselves, and we'll get right into the questions that we're gonna be asking here. Okay. Admit. All right. Awesome. Assalamu alaikum. Hope everything's well. All right, so we're gonna get started. Excuse me, I'm gonna share my screen, and then I'll have our guests introduce themselves when we get to their portion. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Sorry about that, guys. I'm sorry. All right. So hope everybody can see my screen, and let me just double check, make sure everybody's there. So what is an HBCU or PWI? All right, so we have two different questions there. If I could have somebody read the slide for me, please. And
PWI is predominantly white institutions, and HBCUs are historically black college or university, and they are institutions of higher education in the United States that were established with the intention of primarily serving the African American community.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reading that. So again, PWIs stand for predominantly white institutions, and then HBCUs are historically black colleges or universities. All right, historically black colleges and universities. Again, thank you for reading that. All right. So what's the debate? Let's hear a little bit from one of my favorite shows from back in the day, Different World. We're gonna hear a quick conversation that they're having.
When you were applying to colleges, was Hillman your first choice?
Of course. I was accepted at Georgetown. When I turned him down, my guidance counselor threw a hissy fit. She said she couldn't understand why a girl with so much to offer like myself would limit myself at a school like Hillman. That's what she told me.
It sounds familiar.
She didn't understand. My great-granddaddy was all but accepted at this certain Ivy League school until he showed up for the interview. He went to Hillman, and he went on to become the first black circuit judge of Madison County, Virginia. He always told me, I was 7 years old,
Baby,
you can go to school any place, but no school would love you and teach you to love yourself and know yourself like Hillman.
All right. Appreciate that, guys. So there's this notion, right, that HBCUs will kind of, well, there's two things happening, right? One is that HBCUs are less than your PWIs, right? HBCU is not as good as a PWI, and there's a lot of history and things behind that, and reasons why people think that. There's also this notion that from some perspectives that HBCUs are much better for you than a PWI is, because like you just heard in the video, they wrap their arms around you, they take care of you, they're there to support you. All right. So what we're gonna have right now, we're gonna have a couple different guests. If they can come off of mute and turn on their cameras for me, I'm gonna have them introduce themselves. We have a couple that went to HBCUs, and we have one that went to a PWI. I want them to kind of introduce themselves, and we're going to ask them a series of questions about HBCUs versus PWIs. So if I can have Brother Abdul Rahman, if you can introduce yourself real quick.
All right. Sound like okay? Everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. My name is Abdurrahman Saba.
I'm sorry. Hold on real quick. Walaikum salam. Brother Hamza, can you stop sharing so we can see him?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Yes, speaker. Thank you.
Stop sharing.
All right. Sound like my name is Abdurrahman Saba. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I went to Bowie State University. My major was network security, and I just recently graduated this summer.
Awesome. Thank you. If your brother wants to introduce himself as well.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Umar. That's my brother before, so we have the same last name, Umar Saba. I'm from Philadelphia, basically the same background. And I went to Lincoln University, the first HBCU,
Nice.
1854.
So funny. You look like the other Umar. You guys resemble each other. All right. Brother Latif, if you can introduce yourself and tell them where you went to.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdullah. Okay, wait, before I do this, full disclosure, my Wi-Fi is like really choppy, so sometimes, like, if I cut out, please let me know.
No worries.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Abdul Latif Kadigu. I went to University of Maryland. I was a computer science major, and I just graduated last year, fall 2020.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing with us. So I'm not going to share my screen again because I don't want them to cut out. So what I'm going to do, if you guys can go on presenter mode just to make sure whoever is talking is on camera. And the way you do that, I think everybody knows how to do that. I hope so. Anyway, you just go back to the if you look at the top of your screen, I don't know what mode you're in. You're either in speaker view or you're in gallery view. You guys can just switch to make sure you're in speaker view. All right. And the first question I'm going to pose to our panel is really simple. All right. Who or what impacted your decision to attend your HBCU or PWI? Who or what impacted your decision to attend your HBCU or PWI? And anybody can take that question first.
I'll just jump in on this one.
All right.
My main factor in choosing University of Maryland was one, distance. It was really close to my house. And two, they have a really good computer science track. So those are the two things for me. It was just distance and like they matched my major really well. So I just went for it.
All right, very good. So distance and major.
Yeah.
Brother
Okay,
Umar, go ahead.
I can go next. Lincoln University. The thing that made me want to go there was basketball. So I played sports in high school, and they kind of recruited me to go there to play. And they gave me some money, so it was like a win-win. I wanted to go there. It was a black HBCU, so it was like a win-win for me. That was the reason why I went there.
So did it have anything to do with comfort? Was that the only school that offered you, or were there other?
There were other schools. There were other schools that offered me, but none of them had engineering as like a major there at their schools that I was offered. So that was another thing that made me go to Lincoln as well.
Gotcha. So engineering and obviously the scholarship offer. Brother Abdul Rahman.
All right. So I went to Bowie State University because when I was looking it up, my grandmom, she was having like complications at the time. So my mom thought it would be like a good idea to for me to go to a school that was in Maryland. So I looked up Bowie State, and at the time it had their network security program. I think it was top 25 for HBCUs at the time. So I chose Bowie for that reason.
All right, thank you guys for sharing. All right, so I have another question for you guys, and this is going to be a bit of a hot topic. All right, so I'm going to start with brother Abdul Latif. All right, so question is there a difference in quality of education received at a PWI versus HBCU? Choose your words wisely. Is there a difference in the quality of education in your eyes? Yes.
I wouldn't know, because I only went to a PWI. I've never experienced education from HBCUs. I wouldn't.
So what's your perception of it?
Of PWI, the education level, quality
of PWI versus HBCU. And you could be transparent. You could be 100%.
I mean, from my experience,
yeah.
I had a bunch of complaints about Maryland. Okay, from my experience, it was good, but I mean, nothing's perfect. I still had issues with the way Maryland did things. It wasn't perfect. When you get to the higher levels, it becomes less about them teaching you and more you teaching yourself, which I don't know if that's like every single university, but that's how I felt. They kind of let you go towards the end. Also, it's just, for me, the biggest impact that really like affected how I did in school was the people I met. I got a lot of help from the people who were like the same major as me and like counselors and stuff. They would all, like, it was always there. They'd always like push things to you. They'd send you massive amounts of emails or come to this event, come to do this workshop. There was always something going on campus that could help you either get better grades or find an internship or something like that. So I don't know if that's how it was at Bowie or at any other HBCU, but there was always opportunities for something in Maryland.
Okay. I'm going to put you on the spot and I'm going to make you answer the question in a second. I'm going to come back to you.
As in pick one or the other?
No, not pick one or the other. Do you think, based on your perception of things, do you think that there is a difference in the quality of education? You don't have to answer that right now. I'm going to come back to you in a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Brother Umar. Do you feel like there's a difference in the quality of education between the HBCU and PWI?
This is a great question here. I wouldn't say there's a difference, but I would say the environment would be different that you're learning in, and the culture goes along with how you learn things and how you can process things. So my school, for instance, Lincoln University, it has about 1,500 students max, compared to a Maryland University. So it's like a different in numbers, and it's like a smaller community where the teachers or professors are, like y'all have one-on-one conversations. They have time for you just because of how smaller the classes are and how everyone knows each other. It's like at HBCU, it just feels like from my like you said, from my like experience there, it was like a home feeling. Like you just felt at home, and you, like, your professors knew you on a basis to where they could talk to you about anything that was going on. So it's a more personable feeling. And that helped me as a person or as a student, just, learn more, learn easier, and could connect with anything that was going on. So they broke it down for me. And it was like it was good in that aspect, I think. Like it was the best thing, learning experience for me, coming from I went to all boys high school. So it was like, Boys Latin in Philadelphia. So it was like a similar like how small the classes were. And that's what I liked. That's what I needed for myself. And I know myself that to be where I wanted to be at, and to know, like, to understand certain material in the classroom, I needed that one-on-one experience where I could talk to the professors on a daily, like in class, if I needed help, or even after class as well. And you would see them on campus all the time, talk to them in the cafeteria. I just feel like at HBCU, you get that experience, and it's better for you.
Okay, that's fair. So you went to a smaller HBCU. Do you think that it would be the same at a large HBCU? Maybe, I don't know, North Carolina A&T, where it's like 30,000 kids, right?
A&T, okay. One of my friends go there, and it depends on what department, I think. So I know in the engineering department, it's the same. So like a tight knit group, everyone talks to each other. The professor is like, I had a professor, she was like my mentor at the same time as my professor. It was just like, I went to her for everything. She helped me out with anything that I needed. And not just me, the whole class. Like, she was like our mother just for our class. It was like, she was helping us out and she was, you know, like teaching us at the same time. So it was just like that feeling of just being like a family. And it
Nice.
was like helping one another out.
Right.
So I think it's the same at another HBCU.
All right, awesome. Thank you for your response. Abdul Rahman, what do you think? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. I think you're coming in broken a little bit. I'm gonna give you a second. Let's come back to Brother Latif to see if he's ready to answer his question, and then we'll come back to you in a second. So perception, what do you think?
This is
To
about to
be
be
honest,
it's gonna be a cop out
I don't
question.
want to.
Response is gonna sound so cop out, but like Umar, right? The burgundy shirt. That's one that just.
Yep.
You mentioned something about like sort of like having a like close knit family and stuff like that. That I really felt that in Maryland too, but it wasn't like all these people are the same color as me. It was more because like we were all going through the same kind of like torture. UMDCS track is horrible. It's so tough that at some point it doesn't even matter who you, as long if you know what you know, then like that's what matters. That's what connected us all. It's the fact that we're all going through this together. Can you help me? Can I help you? Oh, we can work this out. Cool. Let's do it. I still talk to people on a daily basis that I met at Maryland. Like we're still cool. We're still super close. So as far as like the whole community thing, I still felt that. Maybe I would have felt maybe would have felt better if they were all Black or Nigerian or whatever. I'm not sure, but I know I'm still close to those people. As far as the quality of education that I got from Maryland as opposed to like an HBCU. I mean, I'm gonna be biased and I'm gonna say Maryland, mainly because like I've seen what they can do, I've experienced what they can do, and it's great. I did have complaints, but as far as like the way they did things, it worked for me. Like it was good. It was great. It was tough, but it was fair.
A bit of a cop out, but I'll let you ride with that. I'll let you ride with that. So HBCUs guys. All right, so brother Abdul Rahman, what do you think? HBCUs versus PWIs in terms of the quality of education. Do you think there's a difference in the quality of education between the PWI and
from my perspective, from what I experienced at Bowie State University, it was, I want to say I had almost like the same teachers and a small classroom experience in my track as network security. It wasn't that many of us, so it wasn't that big of classes or anything like that. Everything just was small, tight knit. It was the same teacher basically guiding us through multiple
breaking up again?
So they had to understand how we learn and how their teaching style works.
We're gonna have to, all right, let me pause. I'm gonna pause in mind. We're gonna I think he's breaking up still. So we're gonna ask a separate question here, right? So I'm gonna come to Brother Umar. So Brother Umar, question is, right, what advantage
allowed them to like to change up if they needed to, so we could understand the information. So I think experience at a HBCU, I would say HBCU education, or it was good as far as it being a small classroom, and that's what I need.
I appreciate that. You cut out a bit, so we couldn't hear everything, but definitely appreciate your response. So Brother Umar, I'm going to come to you. My question for you is, what advantages or disadvantages do you feel that you had by attending an HBCU? What advantages or disadvantages do you feel like you had by attending an HBCU? Brother Umar.
I'm going to start with the disadvantages first. So I'm going to be completely honest. I studied engineering at Lincoln University. So going in, I thought the program was fully, developed, but it wasn't when I got there, and I understood that I could have chose like another major, and not knowing that it wasn't fully developed or had enough classes going through, I had to like be one of the forebearers forward to progress on. So my 4 years there that I completed. It was like a learning process for the professors that was coming in and teaching us the material. So that was it for me, like the disadvantage. I know like at a bigger PWI school, or even at a different school, HBCU wise too, that's more developed. Their program is more developed, I should say. It would be like it wouldn't have been a learning process on the classes that we're going through. So at Lincoln, it was like you had to learn as you go, and sometimes that was even going on for the whole department as well. Understanding the students that was coming through. So it's kind of pro and a con in a sense. So I would just use that as like a disadvantage. And also some of the, internships that at PWIs they receive and funding for materials that they receive as well. I feel like we're kind of at a HBCU, we were kind of like on a back end of some of that stuff, just receiving all of the materials and going and having the resources that PWIs have in their library. So at my school, a pro was that we were able to get those materials into the school, into the program, and also go on those internships. So our counselor, my professor, she would send us stuff. I did an internship at CHOP, coming right out of my sophomore year.
And what
She
is
was like,
that?
you need it's a Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
I did a internship on traumatic brain injuries. It's totally opposite from engineering, but it's just an experience that she said I needed to get that under my belt, because that's what the competitive people are doing. So in that area, that's where the pros were coming in, so I could get this information from my professors that went to like a different school and knew that what we needed to compete. So that would be my answer for that question.
So would you say that you felt like your professors had your best interest at heart, that they really cared a little bit more? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they cared for us. They were like, even they would just propose all of these options to us to know where we needed to be at. Like they would ask us, what do you want to do? All right, this is what you need to do to get there. They would they would help us line up our career and make the best decisions for ourselves and our future that they could see us going in.
Gotcha. So you feel like they took it more of a personal kind of approach to make sure that you got what you needed. All right, so Brother Abdul Latif, thank you for that answer. What do you think the advantages and disadvantages were for going to a PWI?
I'm gonna start with the disadvantages, like Umar did. One of the main disadvantages was like I could walk into a class and legitimately count how many like on one hand, how many Black people were in a classroom, and because of that, you feel this sort of pressure to kind of like represent for your entire culture. So on those days where something does happen and you do end up coming in 2 minutes later, 5 minutes later, you can't even make it to class. Like, oh well, I know at the very least one person or a couple people are like, oh well, that's what they do. They don't show up on time. It's just you feel that kind of like, I shouldn't have done that. That looks bad on all of us, even though it could happen to anybody else. But you just feel, you know what I'm saying? You feel like you're under a microscope sometimes. That was the biggest thing. The pros for me were, I mean, I got to meet a bunch of people from all different walks of life, mainly Asian and white kids, because it's computer science in Maryland. That's like most of the demographics in that major. The classes were huge, but I mean, you didn't get to talk to the teachers too much because they have office hours from like 1 to, it's never enough because they're teaching like 100 kids at a time. But that did give you the opportunity to talk to other students. So even though you couldn't talk to your teachers, you got to meet a whole bunch of other people in office hours during class, and that kind of helped me kind of.
All right, so I agree with that. So,
all different kinds of places.
Definitely. So you said a more diverse group of students is one of the pluses, right? You got to meet a lot of different types of students. One of the disadvantages, you said you couldn't really talk to your professors that often because they teach so many students.
Yeah, it was a pretty big.
Okay,
each class
but
was huge.
definitely leaning on the other students is kind of a positive. You said are there any other advantages you feel like you had?
The opportunities in Maryland, like I said, those were all great. There's always something to do. There's always some kind of event, some kind of pop up or something like that. That's gonna come and get an internship here, or come do this. There's always something.
So resources and opportunities.
Yeah, even now they still send me emails talking about something. You can come back, and so I'm like, okay, there's just a lot going on there.
Nice. So, all right. Thank you for sharing, brother Abdul Rahman. Are you there? If you can share with us, what do you think some of the advantages of going to HBCU and some of the disadvantages?
So I'm sorry, I don't want to share my camera because it's it lags.
Yep.
So for me and my experience, I feel like
Still lagging. Yeah, definitely. Like, all right, so I'm gonna have to come back to him because we definitely cannot hear anything he's saying. All right, so let's move on to another question. So, what are some of the cultural differences you find at HBCUs that are not found at PWIs? And I'm gonna come to Brother Latif first. What do you think? Some of the cultural differences that you'll find at an HBCU that you won't find at a PWI?
Here comes more cop out. I've never really experienced what it's like to be at an HBCU, so I wouldn't really know. And on top of that, my experience is a little different because I was working while I was in Maryland, so I didn't have a lot of time to stay after class because I'd go from school to work. As far as the culture, I didn't really I didn't do too many things on campus because if I wasn't at school, I was at work or at home working on something. A lot of my time I spent in school was really spent at office hours, like just doing work. So as far as me experiencing, give me an example of what you mean by culture.
Okay, so we can talk about food. We can talk about chants, homecomings, alumni life, music, all of those things.
Got you. Yeah, I didn't get to experience a lot of those. Like food, I can talk about food. I went to the food courts or whatever. It's just, are they different at HBCUs? There's like Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, and all these different, you know what I'm saying? Like, how
the fast food options.
Yeah, go ahead. Can I ask Umar for what kind of foods do they have?
Okay, let's go to Brother Umar first. What do you think of some of the cultural differences at HBCU over PW?
I didn't live on campus.
Hey man, I could talk for years on years about the cultural difference, man, at HBCU. So just like starting off, just when you go to HBCU campus, just on a tour, you just feel the energy coming from it. You know, the people. You know, it's people from everywhere. So you know, you see people from your hometown that you probably grew up with, and you know how the culture is or wherever you're from. I'm from Philly, and Lincoln is closer to Philly. So, you know, I have those people there, and people come from New York, Maryland, California, just everywhere. And it's like the history behind HBCU is one of the things that adds into the culture itself. So my school was the first HBCU like to be established here in the US. So it was like, it's a big thing just to come in and feel that how many people have been through this school. That adds to the culture. We have Melvin B. Tolson, you know, like we have I could go on for years just about all of the history with the HBCU itself. But as far as foods, we have, you know, homecomings. That's a whole different energy itself. You have all the alumni come back, the games, we have chants, we have a whole weekend of just activities that gives into the school itself. We have vendors coming up from different areas, serving food, like fried foods, all types of foods, African foods, every food that you can like think of, it will be there on the homecoming weekend or back to like coming back to school weekend or welcome back week. it would just be the energy, I would say, adds to the culture. So it's going to a HBCU. It's different.
So I'll
Different
ask
for
you this
sure.
question. I ask you this question in terms of alumni, right? Do you feel a connectivity, or what kind of connectivity do you feel to other alumni? And I'll ask you the same question, Brother Latif. Like, what kind of question or what kind of connectivity do you guys feel to other people who went to that school? Is it like a deep connection, like, yo, you know what this is like, or is it just like, oh, cool, you went to Maryland too, or oh, cool, you went to Lincoln too? Like, what is that like? You talked about homecoming a little bit. I know homecoming at a PWI and homecoming at HBCU, very, very different experiences. And that's a whole nother topic that's a whole nother long topic. But what kind of connectivity do you feel to your school versus Latif? What do you think?
So when you say connectivity to alumni, do you mean just like other people who graduated with me, or like just past alumni,
No,
all of
past
them?
alumni, anybody who went to your school, not just people you're like friends of yours, nothing like that, but people who went to Maryland.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
Mm-hmm.
Not very much. My relationship with Maryland was very businesslike. It was, I go here, get my degree, then leave. That being said, every now and then it was cool to hear about, like, if a famous person graduated from Maryland, like Gayle King or Larry David or something like that. Like, that was cool to hear about. But as far as me feeling some kind of like personal connection with them because I went to the same school with them, I didn't really get that at all. That wasn't like a thing for me. It was just, oh, okay, they went here too. That's great. Like, and who was it? It was there was one, oh God, the creator of Boondocks, I think. I forget his name. Aaron.
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah. That one was dope. That was cool because Boondocks was a big deal for me. So like, I guess he's one that I was really like, I was excited about, knowing the fact that he went to Maryland. That made me feel good. But as far as all these other people, I really didn't know too many alumni.
Jim Henson.
So it wasn't like anything. It wasn't like a super crazy feeling for me. It was just like, okay, that's cool. That's fun to learn.
What about you, Brother Umar?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. The alumni, I just feel like it's an honor, it's like a legacy thing, to where as though you went to school with amazing people that graduated and still come back to the school and give into the school. So like, just another thing on a culture, like just adding into the Black excellence that happened and transformed the whole nation. We have people that been there, been throughout the school. Someone, Kwame, I forgot his last name, but he was the Nigerian or the Ghana, the president of Ghana, I believe, one of the first presidents of Ghana, and he graduated from Lincoln University.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just seeing that these people have been at my school and understanding, like, man, like we walked these same halls, we've met these same professors, or they still probably are in contact with them. It's just the honor to have that, and knowing that you can be great as well, and having that chip on your shoulder, like, okay, I can get this done. I have a great future coming up. That's what it is. And
awesome. Appreciate you guys sharing that. And then I have one last question for you before I open it up to the students. If you had a chance to kind of influence a deciding high school student's decision between attending a PWI or HBCU, what would you tell them? Either of you guys can take that question first.
I would just say go with what suits you, but like I made my decision based off of like my educational values as opposed to anything else. I wanted to get a degree in computer science, and that was my main focus. It was which one had like which school like is close enough to me to where I can afford it and like has a good computer science track. I went to UMBC for a little bit, but I ended up transferring to Maryland because it was much closer. Like that was. Oh, did you go to UMBC or something?
No. I was the chat. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, for me, it was mainly educational. There was really not much else in my like deciding process. That's just what I would say. Go with what suits you educationally. But I mean,
So he said, go what suits you personally, but I mean something. I'm not sure where he was going with that the last statement there. What was the last statement you said? You said, go what suits you personally, but I mean what?
No, we're good. That was it.
No, we didn't hear the last part. You just said, go what suits you personally. And you said, but I mean.
Oh yeah, but I'm saying like it so could that could mean you either go to a PWI or an HBCU. It doesn't really like an HBCU could fulfill your academic needs as well as the PWI. It's just it all depends on what you choose.
Gotcha. Depends on what you value. Okay, brother Umar, what do you think? Oh, you're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. This is a great question. I would say just look up schools that you're interested in first. You know, depending on why you're interested in them, understanding yourself. I mean, I went to school just trying to play basketball, and they offered me. I'm like, okay, I could play here, but going into the school, I got an understanding of it's more than just basketball. As you can see, I wanted to do engineering too, and that just added on. I got a career out of it. I made a career out of it. I'm currently employed through engineering now, so it's not like it's nothing at HBCU. You can find it's hidden gems everywhere you go. So it's just not about. It's what you make up the most experience. It's what you can make of it. So go in with an open mind, like my brother said earlier, and just have a understanding of what are you interested in and what do you like to do. So, and of course, you know, HBCU would be the best bet for me. I'm pushing that all the way. Go, man. It's an experience you don't want to miss. But yeah, have open mind and know yourself and know what you want.
Absolutely. And Dr. Fazia, if you would like to add anything, I'd love to hear what you wanted to add there. She added some stuff in the chat, but she did mention about some of the famous alumni at Lincoln University. Nnamdi Azikiwe, the first president of Nigeria, class of 1930. And then Kwame Nkrumah, first president of Ghana, class of 1939. And she did mention that Lincoln was one of her top 3 choices, but decided to stay closer to home instead. All right. And
yeah, this is really great conversation. Thank you all. I appreciate it. Yes, I was looking into Lincoln University. I believe I got a full ride scholarship. I can't remember exactly why I didn't decide to go there, but I know that UMBC being closer to home was one of the reasons why I went to UMBC.
So I went to both the PWI and HBCU, and I can kind of speak a little bit about in terms of my personal experience. I went to a really big school and then a medium-sized school. Bowie State University is a HBCU that I went to, and it's a medium-sized school. It's about 5,000. Actually, it's about 6,000 students now, right? Not a small school like Lincoln. Lincoln's about 1,500. It's not really small like Lincoln, but not as big as the University of Maryland. And I would say my personal experience was one that I enjoyed Bowie State much more than I enjoyed the University of Maryland. University of Maryland was great school. I had the big name. I love the athletics there and I love everything like that. But in terms of the environment, for me, it didn't suit me. So just like Brother Latif said earlier, you have to find the right environment for you and what suits you. A big school wasn't right for me, right? I think that I did a lot of playing because it was a big school, and I kind of disappeared. Classes, I go to class, nobody's paying attention to me. It doesn't really matter. Didn't know any of my professors. It didn't really matter. So it was more fun than anything else, right? At a school like University of Maryland for me was a party school. Bowie State for me was more, I had to take it more seriously because when I went to class, the professor was looking me in the eye and said, hey, chapter 3, what did you think about, such and such? I couldn't hide, right? I was forced to kind of open up a bit. And that's not necessarily HBCU versus PWI. That's more large school versus small school. But culturally speaking, HBCU was the right fit for me. The music, the kids, the things that we talked about, we all understood each other. In my eyes, the professors at the HBCU took more of an interest in me and trying to get me to where I wanted to be than at Maryland. Like I said, nobody knew my name at Maryland, right? A professor, you're just another number, right? You're just another number. But at HBCU, at least my school, I felt like they took it at heart to make sure that that you succeeded and you did well. So for me, my experience at HBCU was much more much greater than my experience at a PWI. But again, it's about making the right decision for you, taking into account all of these different aspects. And Abdul Rahman, if you want to share what you would share with a high school student if they were about to make a decision and you can sway them one way towards PWI or HBCU, what would you say to them? I don't know if you're going to cut out or not, but we're going to try to give you an opportunity to share with us today.
I would say how I would look into it. I would say how everyone was just talking about the school size and how your learning size would go into you trying to learn the curriculum that you're being presented to you. So if you know you're not a person who can learn, like self-teach themselves, I would go to a smaller school, something that's going to be more interactive towards you. So HBCUs would offer you that small classroom setting, or um, any size school, and then you have the opportunity to have a teacher that most of the time kind of looks like you. So it'll be easier to come to that teacher and ask for help. Like how my brother said earlier, he had a teacher that was like a mother to the entire class. But for me, I had a professor when I felt like I didn't really fit the school, like the whole school persona of going to college or anything. He told me why, as a Black male in the United States, you need to get your degree and then be able to do what you really want to do. So that's what I got from being at a HBCU. So yeah.
So more of that one-on-one feel, like you kind of said, somebody who actually took the time to talk to you and kind of motivate you and make sure you graduated, right? Some of those things. So definitely. And then, like I said, culturally speaking, I can't even begin. I feel a connectivity to my school much more than my friends who went to PWIs and even me to University of Maryland, right? Like I feel a connectivity to it because I don't know. There's this thing about graduating from HBCU where, and I don't know if it's the homecoming, the idea of homecoming every year and being a part of the festivities and it being a part of you versus my friends who graduated from Maryland. They don't even go to homecoming every year because they said it's not for them. It's they don't find it fun because they don't, the music that they play is not for them, the foods, the culture, the things aren't for them. Whereas as a HBCU, you guys have heard of it, Howard Homecoming every year. People from all over the country come to DC just to experience Howard Homecoming. GHO, right? The greatest homecoming on earth at North Carolina A&T. Another one of those things that people from all over the country fly into just to experience it, right? So homecoming at HBCU is so much more in terms of experience than you would get at a PWI as well. And I can go on for days about different things, but definitely those are some of my main things. Anybody want to add anything else before we kind of move on? And definitely want to thank you guys for joining us today. And feel free if you guys want to make any last statements.
Thank you for having me or having us, man. This is a conversation I think, still high school students that most should, think about going into either a PWI or HBCU, because you never know, like just from this conversation alone, someone might be, okay, I can see myself going here, or just doing some research and knowing what happened before you've got there and what shoes you have to follow, just that chip on your shoulder that you have to have and the demeanor. And it's not just about partying all the time. It's actually people who get things done. And you being in that environment, seeing people that's just like you and that's going to classes just with you, it's just like, all right, like we're here, we're going to grind it out, we're going to get through it, and we are trying to be great. So that's what another thing I would throw at you guys. Just try to be great in whatever you do.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. For Latif?
Yeah, no, what he said, honestly, it's really, at the end of the day, it's really about you. Like, it really is what you make of it. You guys keep talking about the whole connectivity. You feel like a sort of belonging there. I can't speak on that for me going to Maryland. And I think mainly a lot of that was because I had, like I said, a very business-like relationship with the school. I went there for works. I mean, for, education, and then after that, go to work. After work, go home, repeat the process. Like that was it.
Right.
If I spend more time, experiencing campus life and stuff like that, I might feel differently about it. But right now I don't. Another thing I'd like to say is that it did feel great to meet and talk to like other Black students on campus because we could all relate to the same, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like exactly, yes. So even though I was going through the same struggles all the other students, the Black students went through that struggle, and then also the struggle of being Black in America. So it's like, all right, we connect on a deeper level in that as well. But also Maryland had like there's a whole bunch of groups at Maryland.
African Student Union, Black Student Union.
Yes, and like if you join, that's one of my biggest regrets, that I never joined one of those things, because the networking there is so amazing. Like the way they do things is actually it's impressive. Like they really they're a close knit community. I just never like had the time to really experience it. So, but the little that I did experience was great. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it's what you make of it. So I didn't have enough time to do everything I wanted to do, but I still enjoyed my experience there. And yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, sir. Brother Abdurrahman, if you want to add any last words.
So my route to college was not probably how everyone else's was. Like I'm 26 right now, graduating. So I had went to a community college first, went to the military before that as well. So it's just, I would say as a person, you should try to find out what's good for you and not based your success or how you are coming along in your educational studies to what your friends are doing. Just because all of your friends are going to a large PWI or going to a HBCU, you shouldn't try to pick that school because all of your friends are going there. Because to be honest, sometimes when you get there, and you might not be your friends anymore. You might be going to a place by yourself because the people that you thought you were going to hang with aren't really going to be the people that you're going to go along in your regular life with. So I would say try to find what's best for you as a person. Whatever route that may take you to, that's the route that Allah brought you to. So just use that as an opportunity to develop yourself and your character as you move through life.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate that. And I'm going to open it up to the students. If anybody wants to ask any questions about the specific schools, whether it be Bowie State University, Lincoln University, or University of Maryland, or just any questions in general about PWIs versus HBCUs, feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type it in the chat and I can read it for you. Give you guys a second to get your thoughts together. Looks like we have no questions, I believe. All right. If you guys can just give a shout out to to our guests. I don't have any questions. You guys can give a shout out to our guests in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and just tell them thank you for coming in. Definitely appreciate it.
Thank you all so much. Really do appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Like you guys are joining us, you guys feel free to log off. Brother Umar, Abdul-Rahman, and Brother Latif, thank you guys so much for sharing your time with us. So,
all right, thank you again for having me.
No, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, sorry about the interruptions, but I appreciate y'all for having me.
No worries. Thank you for trying to make it work. I have a good one. All right, so real quick before we have about 10 minutes before we wrap up our conversation, there is a really cool video that I wanted you guys to watch. I'm gonna go ahead and try to share that with you now. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share it on my screen. Hope you guys can hear it. Give me 1 second to go ahead and share the video on my screen, and then we'll wrap up this part of our conversation.
Good chunk of your time is actually spent writing emails. If you don't know what Grammarly is, it's basically
Here we go.
For good.
Oh.
This has attracted a cadre of what does Martin Luther King Jr., Booker T. Washington, Langston Hughes, Oprah Winfrey, W.E.B. Du Bois, what do they all have in common? They all attended an HBCU. At the age of 18, I left a small town in rural North Carolina to attend a college that was part of a category called historically black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. The higher education system in the United States is the best, and it's the most diverse in the entire world. There is a veritable smorgasbord for anyone interested in getting a college degree. HBCUs are institutions that were established prior to 1964 for the express purpose of educating African Americans. Today, they enroll only about 10% of all African Americans in the United States, but they account for almost 20% of African American college graduates. Most recent data indicate that HBCUs have a $10.2 billion economic impact on this nation's economy. I want you to think about this for a moment. More than 50% of this nation's black public school teachers and 70% of this nation's black dentists are products of HBCUs. Historically, these institutions have admitted students of all races, and now almost 40% are other than African American. These institutions are now some of the most diverse in this country. I ask you, what is the HBCU experience? These were institutions that were created with a very clear educational objective: to educate men and women for the purpose of helping others. The educational ethos included, among other things, that an education not oriented towards service and justice was incomplete. Just look, for example, at the motto of some of these great universities: Winston-Salem State University, enter to learn and depart to serve, or North Carolina Central University's truth and service. HBCUs have strived to be driven by something more than the market economy. There has been the vision that a university would be an inescapable social force for good. This has attracted a cadre of faculty, staff, and administrators to these institutions who came because of a strong sense of mission and providing an excellent educational experience to those who have been denied access because of racial, social, cultural, or economic barriers. They have been driven by the fundamental belief that all of our citizens should have access to a higher education if they so desire. HBCUs have a long history of educating low-income and underrepresented students. These institutions have created a different educational experience, one that alumni often refer to as a culture of caring. A hospital study found that patients reported a better experience if a nurse had given them a warm blanket prior to surgery. I submit to you that HBCUs are the warm blankets of our higher education system. I want to tell you just a minute about Fred Powell, former student and mentee, is a classic example of the power of the HBCU experience. Fred was told by his high school guidance counselors that he wasn't college material and that he should at best consider applying to a community college. Fred attended North Carolina Central University because no other university would accept him. He was told that his test scores were too low. They told him he could never be successful in college. Fred credits the mentoring from the faculty for giving him the confidence to be able to excel academically. I am so proud to tell you that I talked to Fred the other day, and Fred just received his MD and PhD from Boston University School of Medicine and is currently chief resident of anesthesiology at Boston Medical Center. Creating a high-touch environment and a commitment to mentoring students is so much a part of the HBCU experience. The approach has always been one of focusing in on strength, objecting to those who would use labels of deficit, disadvantage, and at risk. There are thousands of Fred Pals out there, students all across this country, achieving students from low-income families who desperately want to earn a four-year degree. Many never actually set foot on a college campus because of social cultural factors, which include family obligations or simply just getting tripped up by those complicated FAFSA forms. Many are overwhelmed because they don't want to or don't know how to ask for help. Things spiral out of control, and before they know that, they're back at home resentful, demoralized, and oftentimes in debt. They had no one at that institution to give them a warm blanket. Okay, so far so good, guys. You had the test. Let's recap. What is the HBCU experience? A culture of caring, preparing students for a life of service with an education towards social justice, a high-touch educational environment, admissions policies centered on providing access to those who had traditionally been denied. I like it. Great. Where do we go from here? What's next for HBCUs? The high-touch, caring environment provides the perfect platform for moving into a space of innovation, creativity, and design thinking in the mold of George Washington Carver, an HBCU professor and one of the greatest scientists of all time. It was a strong sense of purpose and focused mission of creating a better world that was a driving force behind Dr. Carver's work. We must today begin to prepare and develop students who are embracing the velocity of change and helping us find ways and quickly adapting to it. Most of us would prefer to live in a world where there are clear rules about what predicts success in our lives and business. The rapid change in technology, the disruptive forces in higher education have punctured that myth. Yet that doesn't mean that models of inspiration don't exist. HBCUs are one of them. The innovation and change surrounding HBCUs must be centered around several key areas that will improve student success and prepare them for the ever-changing and fast-paced world. The design of a new curriculum that includes competency-based education. Higher education must transform itself rapidly to this global, digital, technology-driven, and knowledge-based world. The next disruption in higher education will be competency-based education. What you can do will be more important than your degree. A new faculty and academic business model. As disruption has swept through most of higher education, the faculty model in traditional institutions has remained unchanged for the past 100 years. Yet the tension between full-time and adjunct faculty represents a threat, but yet a challenge for us to create new faculty models for the future. Creating living and learning centers that are embedded in cultural and historical relevance. The changing demographics in the United States will require universities to create a physical presence that will clearly demonstrate that they support and uplift diversity. Then new pedagogical approaches for underserved populations. What are the cognitive, social, emotional challenges of students who are members of these groups? We must invest in new technologies that allow us to understand learning styles and design courses to improve learning and student outcomes for underserved groups. A comprehensive program for the growing adult learner student. Non-traditional students are the fastest growing population, and they will demand, and there is a need that we develop programs that are hybrid, online, and fast-tracked. New wave is coming, and we must prepare for that. They will demand that from us. And lastly, we must create new and meaningful partnerships with our alumni, with local businesses, communities, government, and private industry. What we want to do is hopefully get businesses to incentivize degree completion by sharing with tuition and creating professional development dollars that will allow an individual to reduce the personal cost of obtaining a college degree. And as the future of higher education remains so uncertain and disruptive, I am encouraged by those institutions like HBCUs who are mission driven. During the past 20 years, the higher education system in this country has become increasingly more stratified. Most students from upper class families do well, while those students from middle and low income families struggle to get into college and struggle to complete their degrees. And it is hard for me to imagine how this nation can regain its global competitiveness or improve its economic mobility without HBCUs who are committed to reversing this disturbing trend. A large part of the solution lies in the core of the HBCU experience. Take large numbers of highly motivated middle and lower socioeconomic students and give them the tools to become successful professionals. Thank you.
All right, guys. Definitely appreciate that for taking time to listen to that talk. As you can see, I'm a little partial to HBCUs, of course. I don't want to hide that. I am partial to HBCUs. That's okay. But definitely thank you guys for today. We talked about a lot of different things. We talked about college choice, career choice a little bit earlier today. We talked about HBCUs versus PWIs this afternoon, private versus public schools as well. And there's so much more to talk about, and we'll get to that throughout the weeks. But definitely want to thank you today. It is past 2:30. I know we're supposed to start wrapping up at 2:30. So we can go ahead and do that now.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Hamza. No, I do hear it loud and clear in your impartial, sort of partial judgments.
My impartiality, kind of partiality.
Right, but honestly, I think like everyone else has echoed, it's really dependent on the person, what matters to you the most. And a lot of you guys are in the 9th grade, so I would say this is like the best journey you could jump on right now at this young age for you to really start getting an idea of what, I didn't even know what an HBCU was. I think I've shared this with a couple of people. I didn't know what that was until, that there were differences until maybe like 12th grade. So you're getting a huge head start. Anywho, tomorrow is going to be a live meeting, and your parents should have the address, but I'll send out another chat today. You all should have received this email from GW's undergraduate admissions. Let me show you all. Please inquire, ask your parents to make sure that they actually have received it. You guys see this letter? This is the one on behalf of Omar that we got. And please, if anyone has any kind of COVID related symptoms, please stay at home because we're still in the pandemic. I can't stress that enough. So you should receive something like this. Just wanted to share that really quickly. One other thing, please arrive between 8 a.m. and 8:15 a.m. I'll reiterate to your parents, the bus will be leaving by 8:30 in the morning. We need to hurry up and leave so we're not stuck in traffic for too long. My homework for you guys is to write down a couple of questions, at least 5 questions you have for the admissions officer. Imagine yourself in the 12th grade, ready to jump into, or ready to apply, or you applied in 11th grade actually, right? But you're ready to apply to college or university. And what questions would you be interested in asking the admissions counselor? So come up with some of those questions before tomorrow. Let's see what else. I think that covers it. And also, start sourcing for those electronics, those old electronics. Start asking your parents, your neighbors, your friends, everyone around you. That's it. We're just going to wrap up a bit early today. Thank you all so much for your attention. Any questions, comments, last thoughts on anything that we've covered today, guys? Everyone's tired. Their cameras are off too. Are you guys sleeping? I want to see faces before we go. It's only 3 p.m.
I don't have a camera for this
Oh, yeah,
laptop.
You did say that, Rashid. We understand. Thanks, Nafisa. Where's Umar? After so, okay, all right. They're still there. Okay, whew. I thought they fell asleep. I thought they went straight to bed on us. All right, you all. So inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow, bright and early at 8 a.m., between 8 a.m. and 8:15, inshallah, at the, it's called the Rovi Hall. I'll send directions to everyone. Thank you all. All right.
Thank you guys for sticking through.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Goodbye.
Walaikum assalam. Bye.
Bye.